Gon is going to Kukuroo Mountain to get his friend. Sitting on the airship, Gon keeps recalling what Killua said before. They are a family of professional assassins, and among them, he is the most promising one. However, Killua doesn't want to follow this path. He desperately escaped to live a normal life. Through his memories, Gon sees Killua's determined eyes and resolves to successfully bring Killua back. They landed in the Republic of Padokia, where Kukuroo Mountain is visible in the distance, covered in thick fog, looking eerie and terrifying. Although they know Killua home is not a secret place, Gon and his companions never expected that they would have to join a tour group to visit Killua home. On the tour bus, Gon and his group listen to the beautiful tour guide explain about the Zoldyck family while observing the passengers on the bus. Apart from the old man, the old lady, and a very gossipy young girl, there are also several unfriendly-looking young men sitting at the back, clearly troublemakers. As the bus approaches Kukuroo Mountain, although everyone knows that the Zoldyck family lives in this mountain, no one has seen their house or knows its exact location. The Zoldyck family is the world's most famous assassin family, consisting of 10 top assassins. If the introduction by the tour guide on the bus did not give everyone a clear idea of what a top assassin family means, standing in front of the Zoldyck family's gate, Gon and his group finally understand the true meaning of top. The tour guide says that the huge gate, also known as the Gate of Hades, is rumored that once you enter, you can't come out alive because it leads to the Zoldyck family's private land. Therefore, no one is allowed to enter for a visit, meaning the entire mountain is the Killua family's yard. This revelation even makes Leorio's jaw drop. At this point, when the tour guide mentions that the gate cannot be entered, the two troublemakers are clearly unhappy. They attack the guard and forcibly take the key to the small gate, then rush in without hesitation. However, within 5 seconds, screams are heard from inside, followed by 2 skeletons being thrown out by a giant claw. This terrifies the tourists, who quickly board the bus. Surprisingly, Gon and his group decide not to leave, much to the amazement of the tour guide. After the other tourists leave, Gon and his group approach the guard room and strike up a conversation with the guard. The guard is astonished to see legitimate visitors after so many years, especially knowing that they are Killua's friends. Despite this, he still refuses Gon and his group's request to enter the Zoldyck family's territory. The guard informs them that the Zoldyck family keeps a monster named Mike, who only obeys the Zoldyck family. If they force their way in like the troublemakers, they will end up like them, eaten by Mike. At this point, Kurapika is curious and asks why the guard is unharmed, considering he has the key. The guard admires Kurapika's observation skills and reveals that the key taken by the troublemakers was specifically prepared for those seeking revenge. If you open the small door with that key and enter the courtyard, you will be directly eaten by Mike. In fact, he is not a guard himself, but specifically a cleaner for handling aftermath for Mike. So, upon hearing this, Kurapika suddenly understood the old man's meaning. The real main door was not locked at all, it was the door for guests and family members to use. Later on, Gon and the other two stood in front of the magnificent main door again. Even Leorio's, using all his strength, couldn't push the door open, making him suspect that the door was definitely locked. The guard's old man couldn't bear to watch anymore. He asked Leorio's to step aside and took matters into his own hands. It seemed that this door was also a test. Generally, those who couldn't open it didn't qualify to enter and fight enemies. The old man then took off his clothes, revealing his muscular body, and with one push, he managed to open the main door. However, as soon as his hand left, the door quickly closed. At this point, the old man told Gon that there were a total of 7 doors here, with the smallest door weighing 4 tons. The higher the door, the heavier it was. When pushing the door with force, the main door would open the corresponding number of doors based on the strength applied. The guard said that when Killua went home, he could push open door number 3, indicating that with just one push, Killua already had the strength of 16 tons. This astonished everyone. But at this moment, Gon clearly had no intention of trying to push open the door. He decided to ask the guard for the key to the small door. This made Kurapika and Leorio's exclaim in dismay. Once Gon became stubborn, no one could stop him. So, the guard's refusal was futile. Gon seemed to prefer being eaten by Mike rather than pushing the main door. He felt he came to see Killua, why should he accept the trial? Unable to convince Gon, the guard had no choice but to call the housekeeper Godo in the mansion. However, Godo didn't believe that Gon was Killua's friend at all. Even Gon's personal call didn't work. This angered Gon, and facing his fury, Godo was speechless. As the housekeeper of the assassin family, Godo would never easily trust anyone. Gon then angrily walked out, took out a fish hook, hooked it onto the top of the trial gate, and climbed up. Leorio's and Kurapika tried to persuade him, but to no avail. The guard's old man, in helplessness, took out the key and said, "You might as well enter through the side door. I'll accompany you. Maybe if Mike recognizes one of you, he won't eat you." The guard's old man felt that after staying here for so many years, he couldn't watch the young Master Killua's friends die here. So, if someone had to die, they would all die together. Upon hearing these words, Gon's finally calmed down. He realized that he couldn't let innocent people pay for his anger. The guard's old man was very pleased with Gon's decision. He was starting to like this child more and more. He decided to open the main door again and let Gon's and the others pass through. And when Gon's group entered the trial gate, he called Mike over. Gon saw such a huge hunting dog for the first time. Those big eyes were like lanterns, and its huge mouth could swallow several adults in one bite. Gon's was flustered seeing this colossal creature. Its heart seemed to only contain bloodlust and brutality. Gon finally realized how foolish his previous thoughts were, thinking that growing up in the mountains could enable him to communicate with all things. Nevertheless, even so, Gon still insisted on meeting Killua, no matter how many obstacles lay ahead of him. The old guard then led Gon and his group to the house where the servants lived. The old guard colleague, Sequin, was incredulous when he heard that they wanted to see Killua, but Gon's conviction was unwavering. He firmly believed that Killua needed him by his side now. The old guard decided to start special training for Gon and the others, at least to help them open the trial door outside. To train their strength, Gon and the others put on special sandbag vests. Each vest weighed a staggering 50 kilograms, pressing Leorio's down to the ground, unable to straighten his back. But that was not all. Their daily items were also replaced with heavier versions, 20-kilogram teacups and 40-kilogram teapots. These things were simply unbelievable. Sequin truly doubted that they could last for 3 days. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Gon and his group, Killua was enduring inhuman torture. In a dark corridor, a noblewoman was leisurely walking with a young girl. They arrived at a dark door, and after the girl in a kimono opened it, a shocking scene unfolded. Killua's thin, pale body was hanging from handcuffs, covered in wounds, looking barely alive. Beside him, a fat man was gleefully whipping him. The noblewoman, actually Killua's mother, occasionally said a few words to the fat man. In fact, this noblewoman was Killua's mother, and the fat man was Killua's second brother, Miluki. As for the girl in a kimono, she was Killua's fifth brother, Kaluto. Miluki held a grudge against Killua for stabbing him, hence his ruthless whipping. Even Killua's mother felt it was a bit too much. In reality, they had come to inform Killua about Gon's situation. Upon learning that Killua had friends, they were all very displeased, especially Miluki, who then wanted to use Gon to threaten Killua. But after Killua heard Gon's name and knew that Gon was going to challenge the trial gate, his whole body finally moved slightly, and then he woke up. Killua angrily questioned his mother why she didn't tell him earlier. Before the words fell, Miluki's whip came down heavily again. He scolded Killua for not speaking politely to his mother, but his mother didn't mind Killua's bad temper at all. She said she didn't tell Killua because she didn't think it was necessary. After all, Gon and the others were absolutely impossible to pass through the gate of trials. But Killua believed in Gon. He believed that Gon would definitely come and would definitely overcome all obstacles to come to this place to see him. At this time, Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio stood in front of the gate of trials. Leorio told Gon to take care of his hands and leave the task of pushing the door to them, the able-bodied ones. However, despite Kurapika and Leorio's best efforts, the first door remained unmoved. Helpless, they had to continue their special training. Every day, they were exhausted to the point of losing half their lives. They would come back at night and fall asleep immediately, while Gon would secretly practice outside while they slept. Days passed, and Leorio's and Kurapika challenged the gate of trials time and time again, only to return in failure each time. Seeing this scene, Sequin was moved. He finally told Leorio's and Kurapika the key to opening the door, which was to keep the left and right sides in sync. With Sequin's hint, Kurapika and Leorio's indeed made significant progress. Although they failed to open the door successfully, they finally managed to push it open a crack after another round of special training. Kurapika and Leorio's came to challenge the gate of trials again. The old guard suggested that they take off their heavy vests and try again. This time, they should succeed. Kurapika and Leorio's then exerted all their strength. They finally managed to push the door open a crack again, but they were out of energy. Gon, seeing this, took off the bandages on his hands and stepped forward to help push the door. The three of them coordinated their breathing frequencies and exerted force in a unified and orderly manner. The gap of the trial door gradually widened, and they finally successfully pushed open the first layer of the door, entering the Zoldyck family courtyard. Gon expressed sincere thanks to the old guard. The old guard watched Gon's figure go away with a very kind smile. He believed that Gon and the others would definitely be able to see Killua successfully, but Sequent felt that their trip was a death sentence. 3 years ago, Sequent and many companions came here, only to be completely wiped out by an intern butler. That day, Sequent finally understood what hierarchical difference meant, an existence that could not be surpassed even with a lifetime of effort. Gon and the others, unaware, continued walking into the mountains. Not long after, they met a young butler with dreadlocks hair, who was none other than Kanari, who cared deeply for Killua. Kanari politely asked Gon and the others to leave quickly, or she would not be polite. Gon was very puzzled, asking if this was how the Zoldyck family usually treated guests, as he was a friend of Killua. However, Kanari just drew a line on the ground, indicating that if Gon and the others crossed that line, she would take action. Gon, however, stubbornly approached Kanari step by step. When Gon's foot just stepped on the line drawn on the ground, Kanari acted. She sent Gon flying. Kurapika and Leorio's immediately rushed over, wanting to seek justice for Gon, but Gon told them not to conflict with the Zoldyck family. He was a guest at a friend's house and must be civilized and polite. However, as Gon approached again with civility and politeness, Kanari still emotionlessly sent Gon flying. But Gon, displaying a tenacious spirit, flew out time and time again, got up time and time again, and approached once again. This fearless spirit finally moved Kanari. She no longer wanted to harm Gon and thus wanted Kurapika and Leorio's to persuade him. However, seeing the two staring straight at her, Kanari finally knew that persuading Gon was impossible. Thinking back to the scene when Killua returned, she believed that the person in front of her must be the young master's best friend. Kanari beat Gon from day to dusk, but Gon never backed down. His persistence completely convinced Kanari. She no longer laid a hand on Gon and instead cried, begging him to save Killua. But before she could finish her words, it seemed like she was shot in the head. It turned out that Killua's mother had been watching everything from the nearby forest. In her eyes, Kanari had acted on her own and needed to be punished. Killua's mother came out to meet Gon and told him that Killua had a message for him. Killua said he was happy that Gon could come, but it was not the time to meet yet, so he apologized. Gon was stunned. He had fought so hard to get here, only to receive this message. How could such a story of twists and turns happen to him? At this moment, Killua, who was hanging in a dark room, was covered in bruises and unable to move, but his mind kept recalling past events. When Killua was very young, he started carrying out assassination missions. Once, after completing a mission and returning on a mountain road, he encountered a girl with messy braids. When he had no missions, Killua would sit bored on a tree and eat apples. The girl with messy braids smiled at him again. She was the new intern butler, Kanari. She had a fondness for Killua, the third young master, and always felt that Killua was like a normal family's little brother. Killua realized that it was her who had unknowingly used a stealth technique, which was the basic of assassination techniques. Kanari listened with a puzzled expression. She said she grew up on Meteor Street, so she might have learned this dark step on her own. Meteor Street is a place erased by the world, where anything can be discarded. The Phantom Troop and many gang members come from Meteor Street. Killua was very curious about this, so he wanted Kanari to take him to Meteor Street in the future. Killua also had a good impression of Kanari, so he wanted to teach her the rhythm echo. Killua then showed Kanari. Kanari looked happy, suddenly feeling that many intruders were coming this way. Killua told Kanari not to worry because there were still Mike at the door. However, Kanari knew that since Mike did not stop these people, the intruders must want to test themselves. Soon, Sequent and a large group of intruders arrived at the door guarded by Kanari. Kanari was small but had a strong presence, blocking the way without fear. Facing the gangsters rushing in like a tide, she made her moves calmly and skillfully. Therefore, except for the leader of the intruders, the one-eyed man, everyone including Sequent was quickly defeated by Kanari. The one-eyed man raised his double knives and confronted Kanari, but the stalemate did not last long. The one-eyed man suddenly spat out a hidden weapon from his mouth, hitting Kanari's arm. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Kanari used the rhythm echo and quickly defeated the one-eyed man. This also completely stunned Sequent. After seeing Mike appear, Sequent quickly begged for mercy. It was only after this incident that he joined the enemy-beating family. At this moment, Killua realized that Kanari had known the rhythm echo long ago, making him even more curious about her. So, he proposed the idea of becoming friends, which made Kanari very happy. But when she saw Killua's mother hiding in the shadows, she ultimately rejected Killua due to their differences in status. However, from then on, Kanari became even more concerned about Killua. She always wanted Killua to live a happy life and have a close friend. Fast forward to the present, Gon checked Kanari's injuries and found that although she was shot in the head, she was not dead yet, which finally relieved Gon's guilt a little. Gon didn't look good when talking to Killua's mother at this time. He asked why Killua couldn't meet him now. Killua's mother said that Killua had recently stabbed her and his second brother, then ran away from home. So now he needs to reflect on the mistakes he has made. Killua's mother wanted Gon to leave. While she was talking to Gon, she seemed to see something incredible and said how could the father-in-law do this? She seemed a bit hysterical. Could there be a problem on Killua's side? Killua's mother left in a panic, but Killua stayed for a while. She curiously asked Gon, "Who are you guys?" Gon said he was Killua's friend. Killua wanted to ask more, but was called away by her mother. Now Gon and the others are in a dilemma. If they leave directly without taking care of Kanari, she may have to bear the responsibility of letting the intruders in. Fortunately, Kanari woke up at this time and decided to take Gon and the others to the steward's room, where there was a phone that could directly reach the mansion. If it was Master Zeno who answered the phone, Gon might still have a chance to see Killua. At this time, an old man came to the room where Killua was detained, with "1 kill a day" written on his clothes. It's not clear if it's true. This old man is Killua's grandfather, Zeno. Unexpectedly, the first thing he did when he came was to let Killua go. Although Maluki was enjoying himself while beating Killua, he was unwilling, but he dared not go against his grandfather's wishes. Therefore, he could only advise Killua that he had no intention of repentance at all. However, at this moment, Killua, who had been acting half-dead, suddenly exerted a little force and easily unlocked his handcuffs and shackles. He provocatively looked at Maluki, his elder brother, indicating that he indeed had not reflected on his actions. However, the reason he allowed you to beat him was because he felt that his behavior was inappropriate. His unrepentant words and gaze made Maluki extremely angry. But then Zeno suddenly told Killua, "Your father, Silva, is looking for you." Killua then left with an indifferent expression. Maluki, feeling resentful, was quite displeased with this. Although Killua was the strongest genius in the Zoldyck family for so many years, he was not taking the family and its business seriously at all. Silva, Killua's father, sat in a dim room and asked Killua who this so-called friend was. Killua then somewhat timidly told his father that his name was Gon and that he was very happy with him. Seeing Killua's somewhat soft appearance, Silva suddenly felt that he had been somewhat incompetent over the years. He then gently rubbed Killua's head and asked him to tell him about his experiences during these days, which greatly surprised and moved Killua. Killua then vividly described his time with Gon to his father, and when it came to the interesting parts, both of them burst into laughter. As a result, the room was filled with a peaceful atmosphere. After listening to his son's story, Silva asked Killua if he really wanted to see his friend. However, Killua clearly hesitated to answer. Silva then told Killua that although he also wanted to train Killua into a top assassin like his parents did, Killua was different from him. Silva spoke earnestly and sincerely, hoping that Killua could face his inner self honestly and speak out his true thoughts without reservation. Finally, Killua's defenses were down after his father's words, so when Silva asked the same question again, Killua finally nodded and told his father that he wanted to see Gon. Unexpectedly, Silva then told Killua that he was free, and even more surprisingly, he bit his own finger and made Killua swear to never betray his comrades. The scene was quite touching. One could only say that compared to Killua's mother, his father was truly amazing. As Killua walked out of the room, he encountered his neurotic mother in the hallway. Naturally, his mother did not want Killua to leave, but seeing Killua's cold gaze, she could only let him go, deeply shaken in her heart. Killua actually emitted such a cold-killing intent towards her, getting closer and closer to becoming a top assassin. She really didn't want to let go of such a talented son. So Killua's mother finally vented her anger on her husband Silva, but Silva didn't seem to care at all. He seemed to think that after Killua walked out today, it wouldn't be long before he returned as an assassin. Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio followed Kanari towards the butler's room, and coincidentally, Killua also arrived at the butler's room. Hearing that Gon and the others were on their way, Killua was very happy. He asked the butler, Godo, to take good care of him and to inform him as soon as Gon and the others arrived. Killua was very tired now and wanted to rest for a while. However, after Killua left, Godo's inner thoughts clearly showed a different idea. When Gon and the others finally arrived at the butler's room, Goto even considerately had his subordinate bandage Gon's already swollen left eye, and he informed Gon's group that Killua was on his way there. However, waiting was quite boring, so Goto suggested playing a game. Goto took out a coin and started playing Guess the Coin with Gon and the others. Gon had guessed correctly a few times before, but Goto then increased his speed, causing everyone to lose confidence. In reality, Goto's mind was not on the game. While playing with Gon, he told them that the appearance of them made the lady very upset and also made himself, who had watched Killua grow up, very unhappy. He strongly detested the idea of taking Killua away and stated that he would evaluate Gon and the others in his own way, which was not up for debate. As soon as Goto finished speaking, the housekeepers surrounding Gon pulled out their knives, with one even holding a knife to Kanari's neck. Goto informed Gon and the others that Kanari deserved to die for disobeying the master's orders, and they had to continue playing Guess the Coin. Goto used the shadowless hand technique to toss the coin. If they guessed wrong, they would be sent away. The fast speed of Goto's hands made Gon and the others dizzy. Finally, Goto's hand stopped, and Gon and the other two had to guess which hand the coin was in within 3 seconds. Otherwise, Kanari's head would be cut off. Leorio's guessed left hand, while Gon and Kurapika guessed right hand. After the answer was revealed, Leorio's was eliminated. Goto tossed the coin again, and this time, Kurapika was eliminated. Finally, it was Gon's turn, but at that moment, Gon suddenly called for a pause and asked Leorio's for a knife, making Kurapika and Leorio's think he was up to something. But in fact, Gon just used the knife to cut his swollen eyelids so that he could use both eyes. At this time, Killua was still waiting for Goto to report the news. But waiting left and right, Killua ran out of patience. He walked out of the room only to find the entire corridor empty. Something was not right. Gon and Goto's coin toss finally had a result. With 2 eyes, Gon's accuracy indeed greatly improved. Therefore, Goto's starting lineup was all figured out by Gon. Goto, on the other hand, did not have any barriers. He called in other butlers. The 3 of them, with 6 hands, tried to confuse Gon. But Gon is really very sharp. He immediately guessed that the coin was not in the hands of the 3 people in front of him but in the hands of the butler behind him. This time, Goto could only admire him. And at this moment, Killua happened to come over. The 2 good friends were very excited to see each other. Killua was very anxious, pulling Gon to hurry up and leave. He was afraid his mother would regret it if they were late. Before leaving, Goto stopped Gon again. He tossed a coin for Gon to guess which hand it was in. Despite the slow motion, Gon still guessed wrong this time. Clearly, it was caught with the left hand, but why was it in the right hand? Goto said it was a visual trick. There is nothing absolutely correct in this world. Goto hoped Gon would not be too naive in the future and also asked him to take care of young Master Killua. After leaving the Kukuroo Mountain, Gon told everyone about the coin toss just now. Kurapika thought for a moment and understood what Goto's so-called visual trick was all about. In fact, Goto had 2 coins in his hand. He first hid 1 coin in his right hand, then tossed the other coin and caught it with his left hand. This way, Gon would naturally guess that the coin was in the left hand. But at this moment, Goto just needs to open the coin in his right hand to attract Gon's attention, then he can slide the coin in his left hand into his sleeve. Killua is also quite skilled in this trick. On the train, Killua asked Gon where he planned to go next. Gon said he was going to find Hisoka. In the 4th round of the Hunter exam, Hisoka forcibly gave his badge to Gon and said that when Gon could hit him with a heavy punch, he could return the badge. So Gon has been working hard to return the badge and the heavy punch to Hisoka. Killua fully approves of Gon's idea. But where is Hisoka? At this point, Kurapika said he knew the answer, and it was Hisoka who told him. Leorio's was very curious at this point. So after a moment of silence, Kurapika recounted the scene of his battle with Hisoka. It turned out that Hisoka had mentioned the word spider at that time. The spider is the mark of the Phantom Troop. So when Kurapika heard this, he stopped his actions. Hisoka later told Kurapika that on September 1st, he would be waiting for him in York New City. There would be a grand auction held in York New City at that time, and the Phantom Troop would definitely be present. However, there was still half a year until September 1st. Kurapika decided to find an employer in York New City as soon as possible, while Leorio's wanted to go back and prepare for the medical exam. After going through so much, he realized that he still wanted to become a doctor. The 4 agreed to meet again in York New City in half a year. Then Kurapika and Leorio's left. Gon, with an innocent face, asked Killua if they were going to play, but Killua, being more rational, pointed out that Gon's strength still paled in comparison to Hisoka's. If Gon wants to achieve his goal, he must make use of this half-year period for special training. Besides, the other two are also out of money. Killua decided to take Gon to a good place. This place is the Heavens Arena. The two finally arrived at the location of the Heavens Arena by airship. Seeing this unparalleled tall building, Gon was extremely excited. Every floor in this tall building holds competitions at any time. The higher you go, the higher the prize money. After waiting in line for a long time, the two finally entered the first floor of the arena. The Heavens Arena has a total of 251 floors. There are no rules for the matches here, as long as you can knock down your opponent. Killua said he was thrown here by his father when he was 6 years old. It took him 2 years to reach the 200th floor before returning home. Gon admired this greatly. He didn't expect Killua to be so amazing at the age of 6. In Gon's first match, he encountered a big guy. Gon habitually wanted to win with skill, but he remembered Killua telling him before the match that since he had already opened the door of trial, he should try to push the enemy with all his strength. So Gon pushed the big guy with one hand, and unexpectedly, the big guy flew horizontally and smashed into the wall. This even stunned Gon himself. When did he become so strong? Seeing Gon's strength, the referee directly let Gon continue the match on the 50th floor. Meanwhile, on Killua's side, he easily won the first round. The referee recognized that he had reached the 200th floor before and let Killua continue the match on the 180th floor. However, Killua refused. He wanted to start from the 50th floor with Gon. The friendship between children is always easy to establish. In the time it takes to simply take the elevator, a boy named Zushi became acquainted with Killua and Gon. Zushi is a successor of the Shinjinryu. He was really surprised that Gon and Killua, who did not belong to any school, were so powerful. On the 50th floor, Gon and Killua also met Zushi's master, Wing. Wing looked very handsome, but his dressing was a bit careless. It's unknown if he has a girlfriend. Wing was curious why Killua and Gon, at such a young age, came to the arena. Killua directly stated that they came to earn money and temporarily hid the fact about special training. Indeed, Killua, Gon, and Zushi won their first prize money, just enough to buy a bottle of juice. Killua said that winning on the 50th floor would earn them 50,000, winning on the 100th floor would earn them 1 million, and if they surpassed the 150th floor, the prize money would jump to over 10 million. When Killua reached the 200th floor, he had 2 billion in prize money. This shocked Gon and Zushi. Having 2 billion could allow them to live comfortably for a lifetime. However, Killua said he spent all 2 billion on buying candies and cookies. 2 billion worth of candies and cookies. Did Killua buy the entire cookie factory? Under Killua's leadership, the children arrived at the players' lounge, surrounded by other competitive players eyeing them. Soon, it was Killua and Zushi's turn to compete on stage. Killua, standing on the field, remained indifferent. He casually walked towards Zushi with his hands in his pockets, then instantly flashed behind Zushi and effortlessly knocked him down with a hand chop. The difference in strength was evident as Killua easily gained 2 points. The first person to reach 10 points in the arena is the winner. Unexpectedly, Zushi stood up again to continue the match. Killua had to use the hand chop once more, but this time, Zushi quickly got back up. At this point, Zushi decided to use his ultimate move. He assumed a strong stance, and Killua immediately felt a powerful force spreading towards him. His killer instinct made him quickly retreat as he sensed a similar aura to his brother, Illumi. He was scared and kept retreating to the edge of the stage. However, at this moment, Wing in the audience suddenly shouted Zushi's name. As a result, the power on Zushi's body suddenly disappeared. It was a long time after Gon finished the competition that Killua finally came out of the elevator on the 60th floor. Although Zushi had many flaws, he never gave up. In the end, Killua won by points. Now, what Killua cares most about is the power that Zushi almost released. After the game, he heard Wing call it none. Wing told Zushi that he absolutely couldn't use it before reaching the top floor. This made Killua very concerned. After 3 days of hard work, Killua and Gon had reached the 100th floor. They finally had their own room, but on this floor, if they lost once, they would go back to the 99th floor, and the treatment on the 100th floor was vastly different from the 99th floor. Many people would do anything to stay on this floor, so the two of them must be careful next. However, with the experience from the last time, Killua didn't take it too seriously. He was still very interested in none. He felt that as long as he went up, he would always meet opponents who could use none again. Then he could see what none was. However, Gon suggested that they go ask Zushi. Killua really didn't want to ask a child younger than himself, but led by Gon, he had no choice. The two later arrived at the 50th floor, and Zushi truthfully informed them that None was actually one of the 4 major techniques. Recognizing the entanglement, learning the ultimate, and achieving enlightenment through None were all part of the practice of thought. However, Zushi's explanation left Gon and Killua completely puzzled. They didn't understand what Zushi was talking about at all. When Zushi wanted to continue, he was suddenly stopped by the appearance of Wing. He felt that Zushi's half-hearted preaching would mislead the two. But Killua was very eager to know what None was because he believed that his big brother, Illumi, must have this ability. So, he also wanted to study it well. He begged Wing to guide himself and Gon. Finally, Wing agreed to Killua's request. He told the two that training is a kind of application of None ability, and None is the burning of the mind. The so-called 4 great practices refer to the process of strengthening willpower. Point, tongue, refine, and release are the 4 great practices. So Wing's concern about not letting Zushi mislead the younger generation is indeed reasonable. This is completely different from what he said about the 4 great practices. Wing was afraid that Killua and the others would not understand what he said, so he planned to demonstrate it to Killua and Gon. First is the point. Wing focused his mind, then the tongue. Wing said that whether thinking in his own mind or speaking out loud, it can be done. Then Wing slowly said to Killua, "I want to kill you." Killua didn't mind at all, as it was impossible anyway. As a result, shortly after, Gon and Killua felt a terrifying aura spreading around Wing. When Wing opened his eyes, that immense power reached its peak. Gon and Killua were both overwhelmed. Gon barely stood in place, while Killua was already scared and crouched against the wall. Wing said that what just happened was refining, and then releasing is turning the intimidating aura into action. Wing told Gon and Killua that if they want to learn None, he suggests they focus on refining the point first. As long as they can refine the point, they won't be suppressed by the opponent's aura again. Killua and Gon walked on the street. Killua felt that what Wing said just now was false. Although Wing's displayed ability was amazing, he seemed to have hidden something crucial. When Killua fought with Zushi before, he couldn't defeat him after a long battle and became a bit irritable. As a result, with one uncontrolled punch, he fiercely sent Zushi flying. After this punch, Killua himself regretted it. The force of this punch would surely send Zushi to the hospital. But what Killua didn't expect was that Zushi actually stood up. Killua felt that there must be a secret behind Zushi's ability to withstand being hit, because Wing's explanation of the 4 great practices just now completely failed to explain why Zushi could withstand such hits. In Wing's room, Zushi was also getting angry with him. He really didn't like the teacher lying to Killua and Gon. The 4 great techniques are clearly entangle, sever, train, and erupt. Both in terms of characters and meanings, they are completely different from what Wing just said. Just because they are not his disciples, does that mean he can casually deceive people? But Wing said he couldn't pass on the ability to those who are not his disciples because the power of the ability is very strong and anyone can learn it easily. This requires the instructor to be more strict in selecting the right people. If someone with evil intentions masters the ability, it will cause endless harm. The competition in the Heaven Arena is still ongoing. Even when they reached the 190th floor, Gon and Killua could still instantly kill their opponents with their super strength. Zushi, who was watching the live broadcast outside, was also very excited. He told Master Wing that he wanted to learn from Killua and Gon and work hard in cultivation. But Wing seemed preoccupied. Killua and Gon finally reached the 200th floor. Indeed, the higher they went, the more luxurious it became. When they were looking for the service counter to register for the competition on the 200th floor's corridor, they suddenly felt a strange aura in the corridor. It felt like suddenly getting lost in a tropical jungle where monsters dwell, making it very dangerous. Gon and Killua nervously took a few steps forward. The strong killing intent completely stopped them from advancing. The killing intent seemed tangible, as if it wanted to seep into every pore of their bodies. Killua couldn't help but shout, asking the person hiding at the end of the corridor and playing tricks to come out quickly. But at that moment, the killing intent suddenly disappeared, and a beautiful female staff member from the Heavens Arena appeared. Killua and Gon were both stunned. Could it be that the killing intent was emitted by this woman? But it didn't seem likely. She earnestly told the two of them about the precautions after the 200th floor. When she was speaking, she completely didn't notice a playing card quietly emerging from behind her. Then Hisoka also appeared. It turned out that the suffocating killing intent just now was emitted by Hisoka. Hisoka came here to wait for Killua and Gon. He told the two children that it was too early for them to reach the 200th floor with their current strength, so he wanted them to know their limits and retreat. After speaking, Hisoka casually raised his hand, and Gon and Killua almost couldn't stand. The killing intent released by Hisoka made the two of them breathless. But Gon just wouldn't give up. He must step forward against Hisoka's powerful aura. Fortunately, Wing suddenly appeared at this time. He stopped Gon's reckless behavior. Wing said that Gon and Killua couldn't bear the nen released by Hisoka at the moment. Going further would mean seeking death. Killua was a little puzzled. Could Hisoka really kill us just by imagination? Wing, are you trying to fool us? So Wing finally apologized. He said he could tell the two what real nen is, but Gon and Killua must leave immediately and stop seeking death. Gon then asked a beautiful staff member and learned that if they didn't complete the registration before 12 o'clock, it would be equivalent to forfeiting, and they couldn't continue the challenge. It's now 8:30. Gon and Killua only have 3.5 hours to learn nen from Wing. This time, Wing mentioned the real 4 major techniques: bind, sever, nun, and release. But the time given to Gon and Killua is too short. Can they really learn to use nen abilities in 3.5 hours? Wing decided to forcibly awaken their potential, which means Wing would transfer his aura to Gon and Killua. Ordinary people cannot use the power in their bodies because the acupoints in their bodies are blocked. Wing is going to use his aura to clear these acupoints for Gon and Killua, just like the principle of opening the governor vessel in martial arts novels. However, this kind of cultivation method actually belongs to the side path. If there is a slight deviation, it can be fatal. At this moment, Killua suddenly spoke up, asking Wing why he only decided to reveal the true power of nen to them now. In fact, Wing is also a kind person. He felt that if he let Gon and Killua climb to the 200th floor without knowing anything, they would definitely die miserably. So, he ultimately decided to teach the nen ability to the two children. Wing then had Gon and Killua take off their shirts and stand with their backs to him. As Wing made his move, a surging and overwhelming energy immediately flowed into Gon's body. Gon felt extremely amazed. Wing clearly did not touch him, but he felt a strong burning sensation rising from behind. As for Killua, he felt the same way. At the moment Yungu exerted his power, a powerful energy enveloped Gon and Killua. Even Gon, who had a strong willpower, couldn't help but scream in pain. Perhaps only the people involved truly understand this kind of suffering. Fortunately, this kind of torment quickly ended. Gon and Killua's acupoints had all opened in an instant. They emitted white energy all over their bodies. This was the power of life. Due to the opening of their acupoints, Gon and Killua could see the flow of energy. Those energies surrounded their bodies, like a misty vapor. Their entire bodies seemed to be invigorated. Wing then taught Killua and Gon how to keep the energy within their bodies. Under Wing's continuous guidance, Gon and Killua closed their eyes, feeling the flow of energy in their bodies. They didn't know that Wing and Zushi were both stunned at this moment. Things that ordinary people take a long time to learn, Gon and Killua actually mastered after just one listen. They were truly natural talents. Wing then asked Gon and Killua to open their eyes. At this point, the energy on their bodies no longer leaked uncontrollably but instead enveloped their bodies like a thin film of gas. Wing decided to start the next stage of training for them. He began to emit malicious intentions towards Gon and Killua. In an instant, a dark purple aura enveloped the entire room. This is the aura of Illumi that Killua hates and fears the most. However, since the thin film of gas enveloped his body, he felt much better. Wing said that as long as the two could successfully resist the intentions he released, they could break through the circle set by Hisoka. As soon as he finished speaking, Wing unleashed all his nen power. Gon and Killua's screams were endless. Before 12 o'clock, Gon and Killua returned to the corridor on the 200th floor where Hisoka was located. Hisoka smirked evilly and freely released his malicious nen abilities towards them. But this time, Gon and Killua had the protection of nen and were completely unafraid of this threat. They slowly moved forward and finally broke through Hisoka's circle. Hisoka then smiled and finally agreed to let Gon and Killua come to the 200th floor. In fact, he could also guess the reason why Gon came to the Heavens Arena, which was to hone himself here before challenging him. However, based on Gon's current strength, he was still too weak, just knowing how to entangle. But Hisoka still told Gon that as long as he could win once on the 200th floor, he would make an exception to play with Gon. With that, Hisoka turned and left. Gon and Killua found a beautiful female staff member to register. The beautiful lady told them that everyone here has 90 days of preparation time for battles. Participants can freely choose their own match day within 90 days. As long as they participate in a match within 90 days, they can get another 90 days of preparation time. To advance to the next level of the floor, one must win 10 times on that floor. If you lose 4 times, you will lose the opportunity to challenge. However, if you successfully complete 10 wins, you will have the opportunity to challenge the Floor Master. The so-called Floor Master is one of the 21 most prestigious individuals in the Heavens Arena, occupying one floor each from the 30th to the 250th floor. These 21 owners each occupy one floor. If you become building owners, you can participate in the biennial martial arts Olympics held on the building and compete with other super experts. She enthusiastically said a lot, then looked down to see the two children below still looking confused. Why are they not reacting to her words at all? The beautiful staff member emphasized again that becoming a building owner is a very honorable thing and you can live in a 1,000-meter high landscape suite. However, Gon said, "Killua, isn't your house on a 3,700-meter mountain?" Now the beautiful woman was dizzy. What are these two kids here for? Gon naturally came to duel with Hisoka. He didn't care about any landscape suite. So Gon and Killua began to discuss when to participate in the competition. Gon had just learned Nen abilities and was eager to try them out. He wanted to test his abilities immediately, so he filled out the application form. Unexpectedly, 3 people in strange outfits also lined up to fill out the form behind him. Obviously, they thought Gon and Killua were easy targets. If they were grouped together, they could easily win. Gon's match was scheduled for the next afternoon. His opponent was one of the 3 members of the strange outfit trio, Red Cloak without legs. Before the battle, Gon thought about what Wing had said before. Now Gon and Killua could only defend, not attack. So he hoped they wouldn't rush into the match and would leave some time for him to teach them everything about Nen abilities. But Gon still insisted on participating in the match. Red Cloak took out a combat top. In an instant, countless tops spun and collided around Gon. As soon as 2 tops collided, they could attack Gon. Gon didn't have time to defend and was knocked down by a top. At that moment, Gon was truly shocked. How could a small top hurt so much when it hit a person? But this is the terrifying aspect of Nen abilities attacks. The tops of Red Cloak were infused with Nen abilities, so hitting a person was like hitting them with an iron hammer. Soon, Red Cloak scored 4 points. Watching so many tops spinning at the same time, Gon felt it was really tricky. Wing, who was watching the live broadcast off the court, explained to Zushi. The reason why the Red Cloak is powerful is that it not only infuses the spinning tops with thoughts to make them spin. If only thoughts are infused, the spinning tops will only spin faster and not attack the enemy like this. The Red Cloak has an unimaginably strong intention towards the spinning tops, which can resonate with them, so the spinning tops have this effect. However, it is obvious that these spinning tops cannot be controlled at will. Gon on the battlefield completely cannot understand the movements of these spinning tops, nor can he predict their trajectories. He can only try to sense the aura of the spinning tops as much as possible. He can indeed feel the aura when he closes his eyes, but as soon as he loses focus, the entanglement on his body immediately disappears. Gon quickly opens his eyes. A spinning top jumps into the air and knocks Gon away again. This time, Gon is directly knocked out of the field. Gon climbs up in a sorry state and suddenly finds that the spinning top that knocked him away just now is spinning below the stage. That spinning top does not carry the thoughts that Gon dislikes, and looking at the other spinning tops on the field, they are spinning aimlessly, seemingly colliding with each other. The spinning tops do not seem to be solely targeting him. At this moment, he also notices that even the referee dares not stand in the field because the spinning tops will attack indiscriminately, even the referee. Gon suddenly understands that these spinning tops have no intelligence at all, they simply rely on instinct to clear obstacles in the field. After understanding this point, Gon's goal becomes clear: do not compete with the spinning tops, focus on attacking the Red Cloak. Gon immediately flies onto the stage and rushes towards the Red Cloak, but at this moment, the Red Cloak starts spinning rapidly on its own. It turns into a giant red spinning top. This turns out to be his tactic, using the combat spinning top to attack while focusing on defense. Gon was hit and flew out of the arena again because he couldn't dodge in time. The current score is 9-0. Gon is about to lose the match. He can't just sit and wait to die, he must think of a way to change the situation. So, the people in the stands suddenly noticed that Gon had removed the bindings. Killua was shocked. He quickly told Gon to stop doing this. Wing was also greatly surprised. Did Gon comprehend it on his own? Now Gon's defense against Nen is almost 0. How will he defeat the Red Cloak? Gon closed his eyes and felt the energy on the top. Indeed, without the interference of his own bindings, Gon keenly caught the movement of the tops and successfully avoided their attacks one after another. He closed his eyes, dodging the tops while approaching the Red Cloak. Everyone on the field was shocked. There are now 50 tops on the field. Gon moved swiftly and easily dodged the tops' attacks in the rain of tops. This move shocked the Red Cloak. Even Hisoka, who was watching the battle, couldn't help but hold down his excited arms. After the scene change, Gon was lying on the bed covered in injuries. He had fractures all over his body. Killua was so angry that he almost cursed. "Are you trying to get yourself killed? You're risking your life without even understanding the Nen ability. Have you forgotten Wing's teachings?" Gon could only apologize repeatedly while touching his head. Before Killua could finish scolding, Wing arrived. He slapped Gon directly and continued scolding as Killua did. However, seeing that Gon seemed genuinely remorseful, Wing's tone immediately softened. But he still said he wouldn't forgive easily. Wing strictly prohibited Gon from participating in any form of competition for 2 months and tied a string around Gon's finger as a sign of agreement. He said that if Gon didn't listen, he would go on strike. After dealing with Gon, Wing called out Killua. He was very curious about the true purpose of these 2 children coming to the Heavens Arena. Killua said he came here to earn pocket money to buy candy. As for Gon, he wanted to duel with Hisoka, so he came here to train. For Killua, he was not interested in the so-called martial arts Olympics on the top floor at all. However, he warned Gon not to say that. From yesterday's battle, it can be seen that he really enjoys the feeling of competing in the arena. So what decision will Gon make, Killua cannot predict. Wing was very surprised after hearing this. He regretted it for a moment. If he hadn't taught Gon and Killua Nen abilities, perhaps the 2 would not have been sent back by Hisoka so soon, and they wouldn't have to face the upcoming danger. However, Killua said it was a bit late for Wing to regret. Since he and Gon already knew about Nen abilities, even if Wing stopped teaching now, they would find someone else to continue learning. They would eventually walk this path. Wing then decided to continue teaching Gon and Killua Nen abilities. After Gon's injuries healed, they could continue their training. However, when Wing returned home, his mood was still unsettled. He felt a kind of pressure he had never felt before. Perhaps he had awakened a monster. The 2 children, Gon and Killua, whether teaching them Nen abilities was right or opened Pandora's box. A month passed quickly. Gon, who originally needed 2 months to recover, had almost fully recovered in just 1 month. On this day, Killua came to find Gon and found him idling in the room. Fortunately, Killua happened to bring warmth. He got tickets for Hisoka's match. Hisoka is a popular player in the Heavens Arena, and as long as he competes seriously, he won't lose. In the matches he has participated in, he has only been scored against 4 times by opponents. Therefore, the tickets for his matches have been scalped at very high prices. It's rare for Killua to get 2 tickets. Hisoka's opponent this time is also a very formidable person named Castro. He is the only person who managed to knock Hisoka down 2 years ago. Castro's best record against Hisoka is scoring 3 points. Originally, Gon was quite excited, but he suddenly remembered the instructions from Wing. He was prohibited from practicing Nen for 2 months and from investigating Nen without permission. Watching Hisoka's match like this should be considered investigating Nen without permission. Walking on the elevator to the venue, Gon felt a bit uneasy. However, Killua thought it was fine to just watch a match, and Wing might not necessarily find out. But soon after, Killua and Gon looked up and saw Wing's expressionless face. Wing sternly forbade them from going. No matter how much Killua pleaded, Wing wouldn't allow Gon to watch. He instructed Gon to focus on training diligently for the next month and to concentrate on healing. After saying that, he left with Zushi. Helpless, Killua had to promise to watch the match himself and record it for Gon. However, even with all of Wing's calculations, he missed the fact that the Heavens Arena TV station was broadcasting the match that day. While Gon was practicing in his room, he suddenly heard the live broadcast of Hisoka and Castro's match on TV. But Gon is a good child who keeps his promises. If he promised Wing not to watch, then he won't watch. He walked over and turned off the TV to continue focusing on his training. Killua, on the other hand, didn't feel as much pressure. He happily ate snacks at the venue and watched the match. What surprised him was that Castro was not the burly type of contestant. On the contrary, with his silver hair, he was very handsome, resembling a protagonist from a 2-dimensional manga. His attitude was also very confident, claiming that he was completely different from 2 years ago and was certain he could defeat Hisoka now. This piqued Killua's curiosity, prompting him to investigate personally before the match to see if this man was just a paper tiger. Killua sneaked near Castro's resting room by diverting the guards with a clever trick and eliminating his presence. He quietly slipped to Castro's door and saw Castro sitting on the sofa inside. Just a moment ago, Killua was peeking into the room from the doorway, but suddenly a figure appeared behind him. The speed was astonishing, leaving Killua wide-eyed in fear. If Castro had wanted to kill him just now, he wouldn't have had a chance to defend himself. To break the awkward situation, Killua quickly made up an excuse, saying he was a little fan who wanted Castro's autograph. However, Castro had already seen through Killua. He mentioned that there were only a few players above the 200th floor, and he had already investigated Killua and Gon's identities. Since Killua was here today to scout the enemy, Castro was very welcoming to chat with the young ones. He told Killua that his method of eliminating presents was very professional but advised him to start eliminating from the upper floors, otherwise, suddenly losing presents at his level would attract attention. Killua wanted to ask Castro how he did that instant teleportation, but Castro said it was his secret and wouldn't reveal it. He suggested Killua watch for himself during the match. Finally, the match was about to begin. Hisoka and Castro stood on the arena. Castro was extremely unwilling about his defeat to Hisoka 2 years ago and claimed that he had never exerted full effort in any of his battles in the past 2 years, all for the sake of this moment to redeem himself. However, Hisoka seemed disdainful of Castro's words, smiling slightly, indicating that he didn't consider Castro as his opponent at all. After the match started, Castro quickly rushed forward and made a swift move directly towards Hisoka, striking with a hand chop. Hisoka was about to dodge head-on, but Castro suddenly appeared beside him. Hisoka couldn't dodge in time and was pushed back. This sudden change surprised the spectator Killua, but Hisoka, who was hit, showed no signs of discouragement. Castro urged Hisoka to go all out, as he was not the same as he was 2 years ago. However, when Hisoka stood up, he indicated that whether to take the match seriously was entirely up to his own decision, not yours. This made Castro a little annoyed. He didn't want to waste time talking with Hisoka, he just wanted to use his strength to challenge Hisoka. He then rushed forward again. This time, Hisoka closely watched Castro's hand movements, easily dodging the first strike from his left hand. But Hisoka didn't expect the second strike to come so quickly and was hit by Castro's left hand again. How could this be possible when Castro had just attacked with his left hand? Seizing the opportunity, Castro launched a series of attacks. Hisoka kept evading without retaliating, just like before. When he blocked Castro's leg kick again, Castro appeared from another side and kicked Hisoka down hard. Killua was even more horrified at this point. Hisoka then got up from the ground. He seemed to have finally figured out something and immediately asked Castro, "Did you disappear for a moment just now?" Castro's actions were too strange, arousing strong interest in Hisoka. However, Castro remained very confident at this point, believing that Hisoka couldn't figure out his secret. Just indicating that if Hisoka still didn't take the match seriously, he would absolutely not show mercy. Castro unleashed the Tiger Bite Fist, green aura beginning to appear on his hands as he quickly charged towards Hisoka. This time, Hisoka didn't dodge. He extended a hand towards the direction Castro was charging from, causing Castro to feel a bit flustered. However, he resolutely continued forward, but Castro swiftly moved behind him as he reached Hisoka's front, and then Hisoka's right hand unexpectedly flew out, shocking the entire audience. Yet, Hisoka seemed to have seen through everything at this moment. Castro was very displeased. He launched another attack, but this time Hisoka dodged it. Hisoka then calmly caught his right hand. This time Hisoka saw clearly. He revealed the secret of Castro's disappearance, stating that Castro actually had a doppelganger, which is why when the doppelganger disappeared, the aura did not disappear with it but instead increased, allowing the original body to appear elsewhere after the doppelganger vanished. Castro, whose secret was exposed, didn't hide it. He directly displayed his doppelganger in front of everyone. 2 identical Castro appeared on the stage. Killua finally understood Castro's secret. In fact, when Castro attacked, there was a moment when Killua felt 2 figures overlapping. So, it was a doppelganger. Before making a move, Castro had already created the doppelganger. He let the doppelganger attack first, while his main body hid in a dark corner waiting for the right moment. The billowing cape he wore was to create better visual blind spots. Castro's greatest strength lies in this doppelganger, which is not an illusion but a real, separate entity. How powerful must his Nen ability be to maintain this state? Castro unleashed the Tiger Bite True Fist, this time targeting Hisoka's left hand. But at this moment, Hisoka started performing magic. He spun his severed hand and wrapped it in a piece of cloth. As he threw the cloth upwards, the severed hand transformed into a flurry of playing cards scattered on the ground. Hisoka asked everyone to choose a number they liked between 1 and 13, remember it, add 4 to that number, then multiply the result by 2, subtract 6, divide by 2, subtract the initial number from the final result. The audience pondered along with Hisoka. With confidence, Hisoka took out a blood-stained card from his severed right arm and claimed that regardless of the number people chose, the final result would be 1. Although this magic seemed unrelated to combat skills, it still elicited waves of amazement from the audience. Concealing the card in his severed arm was quite brutal. Hisoka then tossed the drawn playing card to Castro, who felt like a fool on the side, losing patience with Hisoka's game. Suddenly, Castro launched an attack towards Hisoka's intact left hand, but Hisoka fearlessly raised his left hand to meet the attack, claiming to give it to him. Hisoka's left hand was severed again, but he didn't even blink. However, at that moment, Castro, who was attacking Hisoka, suddenly discovered something and instantly disappeared. Indeed, it was a clone. Hisoka slightly disappointedly took out his right hand from behind. Surprisingly, the right hand, which was just bloody and mangled, was now completely unharmed, as if the previous severed cut had never existed. Hisoka's ability was truly as magical as magic. Castro was completely at a loss now, only able to watch as Hisoka walked towards him, trying to guess what his next move would be: attack, attack, or attack. Hisoka calmly tells Castro that he has already figured out the secret of the clone. Even the next attack route is clear to him. It's really regrettable. 2 years ago, he thought Castro were a talent worth cultivating, that's why he spared his life. Unable to hold back any longer, Castro creates a clone and both figures attack Hisoka together. Unexpectedly, Hisoka keenly captures Castro's real body this time. Castro's eyes tremble. Hisoka tells Castro that even though the clone can be summoned at will during battle, the newly created clone is still different from the original body. The original body, after several battles, is already covered in dirt. Hisoka is displeased that Castro is unaware of even this. Looking at Hisoka's cold eyes, Castro finally rushes forward with a fierce expression. However, he instantly receives a heavy blow from Hisoka's suddenly flying severed arm. While Castro is still confused, all the playing cards on the ground shoot towards him. Castro tries to summon a clone to block the card attacks but realizes he cannot summon the clone with his energy. Castro's ability to create clones is almost indistinguishable from a human. Controlling such a clone in battle is impossible for Castro's own capacity to sustain. Hisoka had already foreseen this. In the end, Castro is pierced all over by the playing cards, lying on the ground unable to get up. Hisoka successfully wins this match. Hisoka comes to the Phantom Troop with his severed hand to have Maki repair it. Maki is very curious as Hisoka's opponent is not strong, so there was no need to break his hand. Why did he do it then? Later, in Hisoka's excited gaze, Maki swiftly sews his severed hand back on using nen stitches. The speed of her technique is so fast that one cannot see how she threaded the needle. In the blink of an eye, the severed hand is successfully reattached to the arm and can be used normally on the spot. No wonder Hisoka was so fearless in mutilating his own body. Turns out he had such an excellent surgeon backing him up. However, even though Hisoka's arm was successfully reattached, the scars could not be eliminated in a short time. Hisoka then used a trick called light and thin illusion. This move can turn aura into advanced replica paintings, which can be used to cover up the marks on the skin perfectly. Hisoka's nen ability is called bungee gum, and on stage, he performs magic tricks using this move. When the playing cards are scattered all over the place, Hisoka actually uses a handkerchief for magic tricks and his severed hand, sticking them separately to the floor and ceiling with bungee gum. The playing cards he previously scattered are also fixed to the ground by Hisoka and stuck to his left hand through bungee gum. When he throws the ace of spades towards Castro, Hisoka has already attached aura to Castro's body, which is why the playing cards later automatically attack Castro. However, this skill has a bug. If someone with nen abilities concentrates their aura on their eyes, they can see Hisoka's small movements. That's why Hisoka intentionally performs magic tricks to attract Castro's attention and occasionally taunts him verbally, causing Castro to fall into extreme self-doubt. When Hisoka previously reached out his left hand and said he wanted to give it to Castro, he actually fixed bungee gum on Castro's face, which is also the reason why Castro was suddenly hit in the jaw by the flying severed arm later. And when Castro cut off Hisoka's left arm, Hisoka also used bungee gum and the light and thin illusion to combine the severed right hand from the ceiling with the handkerchief on the ground. So, looking at Hisoka's set of skills, most of them are actually illusions. If Castro can stay calm, observe more, and think more, he shouldn't have such a tragic ending. Hisoka's magic tricks are meant to confuse the opponent, and the verbal threats and taunts are to make Castro completely lose his composure. Maki chatted with Hisoka for a while and was already impatient. She picked up her baggage and was ready to leave. Before leaving, Maki informed Hisoka that the Phantom Troop's orders had changed. Before noon on August 30th, all members must gather in York New City. The leader should also be there. Maki told Hisoka to make sure to be present as this would be the biggest collective activity of the Phantom Troop in recent years. Not only Gon and the others were curious about Hisoka, even Maki, Hisoka's former colleague, didn't understand him. At this moment, this enigmatic man was taking a shower. He scratched his back and took off the number 4 spider tattoo from his back. It turned out that this tattoo was disguised with a thin illusion. Hisoka felt like he had found a new toy. It was almost time for the troop to go hunting. 2 months had finally passed. On this day, Gon and Killua came to Wing's house together to practice Nen abilities with him. Wing first praised Gon for truly keeping his promise and not secretly practicing Nen abilities for 2 months. Killua was curious why Wing knew that Gon hadn't been secretly training. Wing then asked Gon to try activating Ren to see if there were any changes. Gon closed his eyes and meditated. The aura gradually began to flow around him. Wing exclaimed in surprise. Gon's aura was flowing very steadily, appearing even stronger than before. Gon himself was also puzzled by this. Why, after neglecting practice for 2 months, was activating Ren now easier and more natural than before? Wing explained that during these 2 months, Gon had been diligently cultivating his character every day, making it easier to activate Nen abilities. Wing then asked Gon to look at his own little finger. The string tied to the tip of his finger was actually breaking inch by inch. So that's how he knew Gon hadn't been practicing Nen. Next, Wing turned on the TV and together with Gon, they studied Hisoka's match. Wing had seen through all of Hisoka's tricks. He told Gon and the others that Hisoka was simultaneously emitting a thin thread made of aura while playing cards. However, Gon, Killua, and Zushi couldn't see it. So now, Wing's assignment for Gon and the others is to practice seeing through Hisoka's concealment. Wing asked Zushi to demonstrate for Gon and Killua. Zushi followed Wing's instructions and concentrated all his aura on his eyes, and indeed saw the thin thread emitted by Hisoka. Wing then told Gon and Killua that they needed to first learn to practice, and then learn the application techniques of practicing. This way, they could research Hisoka's strange abilities on their own. However, Wing couldn't guarantee if they could use abilities similar to Hisoka's because everyone's Nen abilities are different. So Wing advised Gon and Killua not to imitate others' abilities but to recognize their own talents and find their own abilities, which is the key. Gon and Killua are still young and everything is not set in stone. They should work hard to cultivate themselves, exert all their efforts in training, and also spend time enjoying life. Only then can they find their best Nen abilities. After leaving Wing Place, the 3 children started to work hard. They decided to continue practicing Nen abilities in Gon's room. However, when the elevator they were in was about to reach the 200th floor, they felt a malicious aura approaching. When the elevator doors opened, the threesome in fancy clothes were waiting for Gon and the others in the corridor. Besides the red cloak who had fought with Gon before, there were also Squinting Eyes and Pineapple Head. Squinting Eyes wanted to know when Killua and the others would compete next, as they were confident in Gon and Killua. Gon then told Squinting Eyes that he would compete on June 10th, but Squinting Eyes' deadline for the battle was May 29th. Therefore, he hoped Gon could cooperate with his schedule. However, Killua had no intention of dealing with this shameless person and left with Gon and Zushi. However, Slanted Eyes were sly at this time, and no one knew what cunning idea he had come up with. The 3 children continued to practice their Nen abilities. In a short while, Gon and Killua had basically mastered the training techniques, but their proficiency was still not high. Just this scared Zushi to death. Are these 2 people superheroes? How can they progress so quickly? If this continues, there won't be anything left for him to teach them. Seeing that Gon and Killua were about to continue their training, Zushi was terrified. He quickly told Gon and Killua to rest their bodies well, as it was also a way of training. Fortunately, Gon and Killua didn't think much about it and happily accepted this advice. In fact, Zushi felt that if Gon and Killua surpassed his years of achievements in half a day, he would have no face left. Zushi left the Heavens Arena, but little did he know that Slanted Eyes were following him with an evil look. So when he walked into a dark alley, he was suddenly trapped by a burst of energy and felt unable to move, quickly losing consciousness. At this moment, Slanted Eyes walked out from the darkness and handed Zushi over to Pineapple Head and Red Cloak. He took off one of Zushi's shoes, intending to use it to threaten Gon to fight him. But just as Slanted Eyes were happy, Killua suddenly appeared behind them. It turned out that he had long seen through Slanted Eyes and their plan. Killua contemptuously told Slanted Eyes that even without using despicable means, they could still fight them and even win. Slanted Eyes were very pleased. He asked Killua to quickly register with them. As long as he registered, he could return Zushi to Killua. Killua followed the eccentric trio to the registration office. Cooperating with a wink, they set the date of the competition on May 29th. The trio kept their promise and returned Zushi to Killua. Killua told the trio not to use similar despicable means again. This is the first and last time. If he finds them using such means again, Killua will not be able to resist solving them in his own way. The trio agreed readily, but little did they know that as soon as Killua left, the Red Cloak placed Zushi's shoe in front of Gon's door. He called Gon for ransom, asking him to participate in the competition on the 30th. The trio was very happy as they would now win 2 more matches. To their surprise, the next day Killua heard that scalpers were selling tickets for him and Gon. Their opponents all had winks in their eyes. It seems that the slanted eyes were still using tricks to deal with Gon. Killua was furious. When he came to Wing's house to practice, he found Gon there too. At this point, Killua re-watched the videotape of Hisoka. Now he could successfully see Hisoka's lines. Wing was very happy. Wing did not expect Gon and Killua to learn Nen in just one day. He reminded the two to practice hard and balance work and rest. Leaving Wing's house, Gon asked Killua if he was also threatened. He was very worried that this was just the beginning. What if those people did something like this to Zushi again? Killua reassured Gon that he had already figured out a way to deal with it. So, one night when Slanted Eyes was happily alone, suddenly a dagger was pressed against his head. Killua threatened Slanted Eyes viciously, warning him not to let himself see Slanted Eyes' disgusting face again, or he would kill him. So on May 29th, during the competition, Killua won without fighting. The Slanted Eyes, who had planned to bully Gon and the others, were scared off by Killua's true strength and ran away overnight. He also told Red Cloak and Pineapple Head that Killua's hidden strength was too terrifying. Those dark eyes were definitely the assassin of the Dark World. So, you all must be careful. But when it comes to the temptation of becoming the floor master for Pineapple Head and Red Cloak, it's too strong. Now, as long as they defeat those two little brat, they can reach the peak of life. Pineapple Head fantasizes about how he will act arrogantly after becoming the floor master, while secretly scheming on how to trap Killua and Gon. However, all of this was seen by Killua. He suddenly appeared in front of Pineapple Head and Red Cloak, causing them to retreat repeatedly. Killua told Red Cloak and Pineapple Head that if they tried any shady tricks again, he could take their lives anytime, anywhere. Pineapple Head and Red Cloak immediately backed down and decided to have a fair fight. Due to Slanted Eyes running away overnight, Killua naturally won the match on May 30th without a fight. Now, Gon and Killua have more time to practice their Nen abilities. They spend all day practicing at Wing Place. Wing is very satisfied with the two of them. They no longer need any advice and let Gon and Killua think about how to win the next match on their own. Gon is still fighting Red Cloak, this time with a fishing rod as a weapon. As soon as the match started, Gon charged towards Red Cloak with the fishing rod. But Red Cloak seemed to know what Gon was up to and transformed himself into a huge red spinning top. Now Gon couldn't get close or launch an attack on him. Red Cloak then spun around and shot countless small spinning tops at Gon. Unlike his previous battle waltz, these spinning tops were like whirlwinds rushing towards Gon at high speed. But Gon stood his ground without dodging. The stage was instantly filled with smoke. When the smoke cleared, all the spinning tops had disappeared, but Gon stood unscathed on the stage. Gon's move caused the audience to gasp in amazement. In just 2 months, Gon's defensive ability had improved significantly. He could actually withstand the spinning tops' attacks head-on. Red Cloak was truly flustered. Watching from the sidelines, Killua understood clearly that Gon's strength was enough to shatter all the spinning tops with a fishing rod. The reason he chose to confront them head-on was to deliver a greater mental blow to his opponents. Next, it was Gon's turn to attack. He picked up the fishing rod and assumed an offensive stance. Red Cloak remained unfazed. Wasn't Gon just trying to hook himself to force himself to stop spinning? So when Gon's hook flew towards him, Red Cloak quickly increased his spinning speed. As a result, the hook landed on Red Cloak's body and bounced off onto the ground. Red Cloak was feeling quite pleased at this moment. However, Gon's target was never Red Cloak. He then exerted force with both arms. The hook actually lifted the tiles under Red Cloak's feet. Red Cloak, who was happily spinning, suddenly found himself unable to spin anymore as his feet were lifted off the ground. He was then heavily hit by the falling tiles. Terrified, Red Cloak looked at Gon's sinister face and quickly surrendered. But Gon didn't give him a chance. He ruthlessly punched and directly broke the prosthetic limb under Red Cloak. Gon warned Red Cloak that if he dared to target Zushi again, he would smash his head. Next is Killua's match. His opponent is Pineapple Head. At the start of the battle, Killua instantly leaped into the air with a quick step. By the time Pineapple Head reacted, Killua was already behind him, startling Pineapple Head, who quickly activated the engines behind his wheelchair. With 3 jet engines, he narrowly avoided Killua's attack. However, Killua did not pursue further. Pineapple Head then revealed his weapon, swirling his twin snake whips so fast that they were almost invisible to the naked eye. This versatile move boosted Pineapple Head's confidence as he arrogantly declared Killua's defeat. To his surprise, Killua advanced slowly and effortlessly caught the whips that Pineapple Head was proud of. Killua made it clear that he was no ordinary person. However, Pineapple Head had a trick up his sleeve. He pressed a switch, and the snake heads on the whips viciously bit Killua, electrifying the whips. Killua was immobilized by the electric shock. Pineapple Head could hardly contain his excitement. The combined electric current of the 2 whips was 1,000,000 volts, enough to make even the strongest person faint in an instant. Unexpectedly, Killua grabbed the whips and flung Pineapple Head high into the air. Trained since birth with severe torture methods like the tiger bench, pepper water, and high-voltage electricity, Killua was accustomed to pain. While 1,000,000 volts was painful, it was bearable. Pineapple Head fell from the sky, and Killua kindly caught him in a princess carry, allowing Pineapple Head to taste his own high-voltage electricity. Fast forward to June 9th. Today's match was supposed to be Killua against Red Cape, but Red Cape lost his prosthetic limb, so Killua won by default. However, the next day, the match between Gon and Pineapple Head proceeded as planned. Pineapple Head immediately wielded his whips, but Gon did not bring his fishing rod. It remains unknown how Gon will approach this battle. At the beginning of the battle, Gon dismantled a piece of the arena's brick and smashed it directly towards Pineapple Head. Pineapple Head was so scared that he didn't even move his whip. He turned his head and ran. However, Gon was waiting for this moment. He rushed out from the side and jumped onto Pineapple Head's wheelchair, using inertia to instantly grab the whip handle. So now it's his turn to use the whip to shock Pineapple Head. However, Gon didn't even wait to turn on the electric switch. Xiao Jie just scared Pineapple Head loudly. Pineapple Head foamed at the mouth and fell unconscious. After leaving the arena, Gon met Hisoka, who had been waiting there. He finally won Hisoka's approval and got the opportunity to fight Hisoka. The time was set for a month later. During this period, he must quickly improve his Nen ability. Soon, Wing let him and Killua start practicing Nen. After learning Nen, all the basics of Nen abilities should be fully mastered. Wing told them that Nen is roughly divided into 6 types: enhancement, which strengthens the original functions of objects; emission, which releases aura; transmutation, which changes the properties of aura; conjuration, which materializes aura into physical substances; and a type that is different from the above 5, known as specialization. Everyone should practice in the system that suits them, otherwise, they will waste their efforts, just like Castro. His Tiger Bite Fist is so powerful that it can easily cut off Hisoka's arm. From this point of view, he should actually be an enhancement type. However, he unexpectedly chose to create clones, which falls under conjuration. If he still wants to freely manipulate the clones, it becomes an manipulation ability. Conjuration and manipulation are not compatible with enhancement, which is why Castro has not been able to unleash his full strength. In the end, in order to distinguish Gon and the others to which category they belong, Wing used the water-seeing technique to test their attributes. After the test, it was discovered that Gon belongs to the strengthening system, and Zushi, who can make leaves move in a cup, belongs to the manipulation system. However, something strange happened with Killua. Neither the water nor the leaves showed any movement, causing Killua to doubt his own abilities. He was so scared that his heart was pounding. Fortunately, with Wing's guidance, everyone discovered that the water had become sweeter. This is the ability of the transformation system. Wing assigned homework to everyone for the next 4 weeks. Everyone should practice hard to make the changes in their energy more apparent. In the following days, Gon, Killua, and Zushi worked hard to cultivate their Nen abilities. Finally, it was time to test the results of their training. He called the 3 of them to showcase their strengths. The first one to perform was Killua. After releasing energy into the water cup for a while, Gon, Zushi, and Wing went up to taste the water. They found that the water tasted as sweet and delicious as honey. It seems that in the future, even if Killua doesn't become an assassin, he can open a milk tea shop to support his family. Next, it was Zushi's turn to demonstrate. He clenched his teeth, sweating profusely, and exerted force on the cup, trying to make the leaves inside spin rapidly. However, despite his efforts, the leaves only shook lightly. Zushi was quite helpless. The last one was Gon. He released energy into the water cup, and the water inside immediately gushed out like a fountain, startling Wing. It seemed like a flood of water was about to overflow. When Gon stopped, Wing realized that the cup had cracked due to the water pressure it couldn't withstand. Now, Wing was increasingly pleased with Gon and Killua. It wasn't until this moment that Wing told Gon congratulations on passing the secret hunter exam. This left Gon and Killua completely bewildered. Wing said that learning to use Nen abilities is the minimum requirement for a hunter because a qualified hunter must have the ability to prevent crimes. However, if this ability is used for wrongdoing, the consequences would be endless. Therefore, only those who pass the hunter exam have the opportunity to learn Nen abilities. The association will arrange for people to teach them. In fact, Wing was originally here to teach Gon and his group, the founder of their school of thought, the renowned chairman Netero. Wing then briefly mentioned Kurapika and Leorio's situations. He also told Killua to come back next year to participate in the hunter exam again. But Sundara Killua immediately said he would consider it. Tomorrow is the day of the match between Gon and Hisoka. Wing told Gon not to force himself if he can't win. Watching Gon and Killua walk away, Zushi felt a bit depressed, wondering why the gap was so big. However, Wing comforted Zushi, saying that with your talent, you are already 1 in 100,000, so don't lose confidence in yourself. Zushi's confidence immediately returned upon hearing this. However, Wing then mentioned that Gon and Killua have 1 in a million super talents, so don't compare yourself to them. Zushi could only remain speechless. Finally, the day of the duel between Gon and Hisoka arrived. With the most dazzling entrance, the two contestants appeared in a burst of flames. They stood facing each other. Gon's gaze aroused Hisoka's latent desire for conquest, making him excited in his high heels, his inner thoughts constantly murmuring. After the referee announced the start of the match, Gon launched the first attack, throwing a series of punches, but Hisoka was completely at ease. After a few exchanges, Gon was sent flying by Hisoka several times. However, Gon quickly stabilized himself each time and lunged back at Hisoka. The two of them engaged in a lively back and forth, with their speed so fast that the commentators couldn't even get a word in. Hisoka, with his superior combat power, finally scored a point. Despite the long duration of the fight, Hisoka hadn't moved an inch from his initial position, which irritated Gon upon reflection. Killua, watching from the stands, could clearly see the vast difference in strength between Gon and Hisoka. However, Hisoka was not without flaws. He was overly confident in himself, thinking he was superior. This gave Gon a possible opening to exploit. As Gon rushed towards Hisoka again, he didn't immediately launch a direct attack but instead used various strange feints to probe. By combining feints with real attacks, he could strike more effectively. Gon then lifted a nearby stone slab and kicked it to shatter it, sending numerous stones hurtling towards Hisoka. Hisoka had to fend off these stones with his fists, only to realize that Gon had disappeared. Behind him, Gon emerged from behind a large piece of rubble. Seizing the opportunity while Hisoka was distracted, Gon swiftly punched towards Hisoka's face. Hisoka couldn't dodge in time, and Gon's punch landed solidly on Hisoka's face, causing him to slide backward. As a result, Gon scored 2 points. Hisoka then walked towards Gon with a smile, causing a stir in the audience who eagerly anticipated his counterattack. Unexpectedly, Gon also walked towards Hisoka and pulled out a number plate from his pocket, which happened to be the number 44 that Hisoka had given him earlier. This time, Gon could finally return it rightfully. The past shame had finally dissipated. After the two separated, Hisoka asked Gon about his Nen abilities. Gon was surprised for a moment, then said he had basically mastered them all. Unexpectedly, Hisoka suddenly said that Gon must be an enhancer. Gon was surprised and asked how he knew. Hisoka replied that it was based on his personality corresponding to the system's principles. He then pointed his index finger at Gon, indicating that enhancers usually have extremely simple personalities. On the other hand, manipulators like him are capricious and enjoy deceiving others. Emitters are impatient, transmuters are individualists, conjurers are neurotic, and specialists like to argue. Hisoka extended his hand, saying that his transmuter nature complemented Gon's personality very well, suggesting they could become good partners. However, transmuters are fickle, and what they treasure one moment may be garbage the next. Hisoka looked at Gon, planning to have a good fight with him. With a swift step, Hisoka lunged forward, delivering an elbow strike that sent Gon flying. He quickly ran to where Gon landed and sent him flying again. Fortunately, Gon adjusted his posture just in time to dodge Hisoka's flying kick. This time, Hisoka only kicked a piece of brick towards the gate with great speed and force, causing the audience to gasp in amazement. It was clear that Gon was no match for Hisoka now, as he was continuously being hit. Soon, Hisoka took a 3-2 lead. Hisoka asked Gon to attack, but Gon refused to fall for it. He needed to come up with a new strategy. When Hisoka saw that Gon wouldn't come forward, he said he would pull Gon over. This scared Gon, who immediately used none. He then realized that Hisoka's bungee gum was already stuck to his face. Gon couldn't break free, and with a flick of Hisoka's finger, Gon flew over. Hisoka landed a fierce punch on Gon's face, knocking him down. As Gon struggled to stand up, Hisoka suddenly told him that if he answered a question correctly, he would let Gon punch him once for free, which confused Gon. Hisoka then asked Gon when he had stuck bungee gum to his face, giving him 3 options, all moments when Gon was hit. Gon chose the 3rd option, but Hisoka said the correct answer was the 4th option, which was when he was analyzing Gon's personality. Gon was speechless. Hisoka was really despicable, but he had many opportunities to stick bungee gum on Gon as long as they were in contact. To avoid being stuck, Gon could only dodge. Gon realized he could no longer evade, and Hisoka felt the need to end the battle quickly. However, he was surprised to see Gon charging at him without hesitation. Hisoka looked at Gon with excitement, his heart calling out Gon's name and admiring his determination and courage. He could hardly contain himself. He licks his tongue, indicating that he really wants to destroy Gon. But he can't do it now. Seeing Hisoka's evil and perverted eyes, Gon feels a chill in his heart. He gestures vigorously, really wanting to beat Hisoka, this dead pervert, into a pig's head. Hisoka is not resisting at this point. The more Gon hits him, the more excited he gets. It can only be said that Hisoka is truly a masochist. Gon's moves are as fierce as a tiger, but in the end, Hisoka strikes back and punches Gon. Although Gon blocks it and doesn't fall, the referee awards Hisoka 3 points. This puzzles Gon and the entire audience. Gon currently has 4 points while Hisoka has 9 points. With Hisoka just 1 knockdown away from victory, Gon is in a precarious situation. Hisoka warns Gon to look to his right, but suddenly a piece of rubble from the left viciously smashes into Gon's face, knocking him down. Hisoka feels somewhat apologetic, explaining that it was from his right side. It turns out that when Gon was arguing with the referee earlier, Hisoka had attached his flexible love gum to a piece of rubble. Hisoka wins and advises Gon to hone himself in battle. He hopes that their next encounter will be in a world without restrictions, where they must wager their lives against each other. The battle with Hisoka ends, and Gon and Killua pack up to leave. Wing and Zushi give them heartfelt blessings, and Gon is now content. Although he didn't defeat Hisoka, he feels he has achieved his wish. Next, he plans to visit Whale Island to show Aunt Mito and the others his splendid hunter license. Because Killua happens to have nothing to do, so he wants to go see them together. It can only be said that this is really possible. After a battle with Hisoka, Gon did not lose confidence. He brought Killua back to Whale Island, making Aunt Mito and Grandma very happy. They had naturally known Killua from Gon's letters, so they were very enthusiastic about Killua. While Gon and Killua, the 2 best friends, were enjoying their time together, Aunt Mito prepared a table full of delicious dishes. Killua had never experienced such a family atmosphere before. He was very curious about Gon's family's prayers before meals. Family dinners like this feel really good. Gon and Killua ate heartily and quickly finished their meal. Only then did Gon remember that he wanted to show off his hard-earned hunter license to Aunt Mito. Although this thing looks ordinary, it is absolutely invaluable. Therefore, when Aunt Mito tried to fold it, Gon was scared and a little uneasy. After dinner, Gon couldn't stay still. He took Killua to play in the forest without even taking the bento. Aunt Mito, who was hanging out the laundry, felt a little worried. Killua followed Gon aimlessly around the island. They ran through the golden wheat fields, leaped through the dense woods, fished on ancient trees, and then grilled and ate the big fish they had worked hard to catch. At this moment, Killua truly looked like a 12-year-old boy, with all the shadows between his brows disappearing, and he smiled brightly. This kind of happiness emanated from the bottom of his heart. The sun soon set. Gon and Killua, full and content, lay on the cliff, looking at the sparkling starry sky above. Killua asked Gon about their plans for the future, and Gon thought for a moment. And decided to rest here for a while and gather some information about Jing. He must find his father for sure. Upon hearing Gon's words, Killua felt a bit sad. It seemed like he didn't have anything that he must do. Living until now seemed to be without a goal, and instead, there were many things he didn't want to do. For example, staying at home to inherit the family business, or getting close to his annoying mother and brother. So Killua really envied Gon. No one forced him to do things he didn't like. He could strive towards his dreams every day. Listening to Killua's words, Gon suddenly spoke up. He said he was really happy to be with Killua and wanted to be with him forever. Killua was a bit embarrassed by this sudden confession of affection. Gon was still his first friend. But Killua was also Gon's first friend. Growing up on Whale Island, he had never met someone his age. So upon knowing Killua's feelings, Gon suddenly felt very excited. He happily invited Killua to be together in the future, to go to interesting places and see many interesting things together. This bold confession made Killua even more shy. However, because of this, Killua made a decision. Before finding what he wanted to do, he would accompany Gon to various places to find Gon's father. But speaking of this, Killua found Gon's background very strange. He always heard Gon talk about finding his father but never heard him mention anything about his mother. This suddenly made Gon silent. Actually, Gon knows nothing about his mother. He doesn't want to ask or dare to ask. Aunt Mito has been taking care of him since he was born. How can he ask her about his mother's whereabouts? Just searching for Jing's whereabouts has already made Aunt Mito very sad. Gon later told Killua that for him, Aunt Mito is his mother, the best mother. And all these words Gon said were heard by Aunt Mito, who came to deliver lunch boxes. She hid in the dark and tears uncontrollably flowed down. In order to take care of Gon, she really gave everything. At night, when Gon and the others returned home, Aunt Mito handed something to Gon. This was left by his father, asking Aunt Mito to give it to Gon after he became a hunter. Aunt Mito finally decided to have a good talk with Gon about his father's matters. Jing is actually Aunt Mito's cousin. The two grew up together since childhood. But Jing seemed to be a cold and ruthless person by nature. His goals were very clear. At the age of 12, he resolutely left Whale Island. Jing was gone for 10 years. During these 10 years, Jing's father never returned after going out to sea to fish. And Mito's parents also died in an accident. Since then, only Mito and her grandmother were left to depend on each other. 10 years later, Jing suddenly returned holding a baby a few months old. This baby was Gon. After handing Gon over to Mito and her grandmother, he was about to leave, making Mito very angry and unable to accept it. But in the end, she had no choice. Mito once asked who the child's mother was, but Jing didn't say a word. Except for Jing and the author Togashi, probably no one knows how Gon came. However, Gon doesn't mind not having a mother at all. He just holds the square box left by Jing and eagerly asks Aunt Mito to tell more about Jing's childhood. Grandma, with great interest, told Gon about the embarrassing things Mito and Jing did when they were young. At that time, there were no children of their age on the island, so Mito always played with Jing. However, Jing didn't want to deal with Mito and always ran up the mountain. Therefore, it was often Mito who went into the mountains to find Jing, and eventually got lost in the mountains and couldn't find his way home, causing the villagers to shout and search for him in the mountains. But every time, Jing was the first to find Mito. As this happened more often, many villagers thought that Mito and Jing were conspiring to play tricks on everyone. But how could that be possible? Jing wouldn't do that to Mito. In fact, Mito just wanted his older brother Jing to pay attention to her, to come find her like she found Jing. The past is not worth mentioning. Gon, listening to his father's story, couldn't help but be fascinated. Early the next morning, Gon showed the box left by his father to Killua. Gon had been pondering all night, but no matter what, he couldn't open it. Killua also wanted to try, but he strained himself and couldn't open the box. Therefore, there must be a special mechanism inside. Killua had a sudden inspiration, saying that since Jing wanted to give the box to Gon after he became a hunter, the box was likely related to the word hunter. Gon originally thought it was a hunter's license. Then, with Killua's helpless reminder, he infused his Nen ability into the box. Sure enough, the box quickly shattered into iron bars. However, the two didn't expect that there was another box inside the box, with what seemed like a slot on top. Killua picked up the iron bar and found that the patterns on it looked very familiar, remarkably similar to the patterns on the oath rope Wing gave him before. It seemed that the effect of this box was indeed similar to the oath rope. Gon then inserted the hunter's license into the box, and the box opened automatically. Inside lay a cassette tape, a ring, and a memory card. Killua picked up the ring and found that it also had those strange patterns. At this point, Gon decided to listen to the cassette tape first. He put the tape into the player, and before long, Jing's voice came through. Jing congratulated Gon on finally becoming a hunter and asked if he wanted to see him. If not, he should stop the machine. Jing was well aware that he was a terrible father, so it was normal not to want to see him. But for Gon, of course, he really wanted to see his father. The tape continued playing, and then Jing's voice rejecting him unexpectedly came through. Jing said that even though Gon wanted to see him, he didn't want to see him. Gon and Killua were both stunned. However, Jing's voice came through again, saying that he didn't have the face to see Gon because he had completely abandoned his responsibilities as a father in pursuit of what he wanted. He admitted he was not a good person and would immediately run away if he felt Gon nearby. So, if Gon wanted to see him, he should go ahead and catch him, as Gon was also a hunter. After listening to his father's words, Gon's desire to find his father grew stronger, and Killua became interested in Jing as well. This father was indeed a mysterious person. Just as Killua thought the words on the tape had ended and was about to turn off the player, Jing's voice came through again. He mentioned Gon's mother. At this point, Gon suddenly turned off the player. He didn't want to investigate his mother's whereabouts. Since he was young, Gon had always believed that his mother was Aunt Mito. Though not biologically related, she was like a real mother to him, and he wanted to treat her well for the rest of his life. This time the tape was completely listened to. Gon and Killua were planning to leave when they suddenly found the tape rewinding. It turned out that the machine was automatically running due to the thoughts on the tape. This tape not only rewinds by itself, but also automatically presses the record button after rewinding to the end. This is to erase Jing's recording. Gon and Killua wanted to stop the recorder, but even unplugging the power was futile. Killua wanted to destroy the recorder but found that no matter what he did, he couldn't destroy it. So they just watched helplessly as the recorder completely erased Jing. Killua felt that Jing might be trying to avoid revealing his clues. This is a world of non-abilities. There may be some strange people who can determine the non-abilities of the recorder through the voice, or determine the location of the recorder through the noise in the recording. Anyway, from this point, it can be seen that Jing is a very cautious person. And now Gon and the others only have one memory card and a ring as clues. Let's not talk about the ring for now. Killua started to study the memory card. Gon was clueless, but the young Master Killua from a wealthy family was very knowledgeable. This is a memory card specially for JS. Gon was a bit confused. What is that? Killua had to enlighten Gon. JS is a game console from 3 generations ago. Those things have long been outdated by the times. However, since Gon and the others on the island are still using cassette tape recorders, it means that this place is not developed. Maybe they can still find an old game console. So Killua went to a toy store and brought back a JS console. He inserted the memory card into the game console and indeed read the contents of the memory card. Killua found that there was only one game record in the card, titled Greed Island. Killua is quite sensible. Just in case, this time he first made a copy of the things in the memory card. While copying, Killua searched online for where to buy Greed Island. But Killua didn't expect that there was no record of Greed Island on the internet. This indicates that the game may be privately made and not for sale. He searched for information on Greed Island again and indeed found that it is a hunting game exclusively for hunters. But looking at the price behind, Gon was shocked and couldn't even count 58 billion. Is this price really true? Killua looked and found that a total of 100 sets of Greed Island games have been sold over the years. So, it's true that it's exclusive to hunters. They decided to call the distributor to inquire about the situation. The reply was that this game is already out of print and there are no plans for a reissue. Gon and Killua had no choice but to try to buy it. The total of their savings now is 8 billion, and to buy this out-of-print second-hand game, it may cost much more than the original price of 58 billion. So, they must work hard to earn money first. Gon then planned to post the purchase information online because any problem that can be solved with money is not a problem. However, as soon as Gon posted the purchase information on the second-hand trading forum, the click rate instantly exceeded 10,000 and kept rising. At this point, Killua basically had an idea in mind because Greed Island is so valuable. These people might be scammers trying to cheat with fake goods. Killua thought that now he could only take action through the memory card. Killua felt a bit chilly at this point. In his mind, the figure of a fat otaku appeared involuntarily. This man is very knowledgeable about both computers and games. He must be very interested in Greed Island. Maybe he even has Greed Island. But if it weren't for Gon, Killua really wouldn't want to ask him for help. That computer otaku is Killua's second brother, Miluki. He told Killua over the phone that he did indeed know about Greed Island, but he didn't have this expensive game in his possession. He had previously searched everywhere to buy it but couldn't find a single seller. So when he learned that Killua wanted to find Greed Island, Miluki found it a bit amusing. Wasn't all the effort he had put in before a lesson learned? But for his younger brother Killua, he was clearly being held tightly. A little provocation made Miluki blurt out that he had the latest clue. Killua then offered to duplicate Gon's memory card as a condition, saying that if Miluki got the memory card, he might be able to analyze the data and even replicate the game. This piqued Miluki's interest. He immediately told Killua the clues. The first was that information about Greed Island could be found on a website accessible only to hunters. The second was that someone might auction the Greed Island game at York New City Auction. Gon was very excited to hear this news. He had already arranged to meet Leorio's and Kurapika at York New City auction, so now he could go and find out more about Greed Island. It seemed like they were on the same wavelength. Before Gon could tell Aunt Mito and Grandma that he was leaving, they had already prepared a hearty dinner for them to embark on. Dinner was very sumptuous. This was the taste of home. No matter how far he went, home was always the safe haven he longed for the most. Early the next morning, Gon boarded the sailboat. He and Killua set off on their journey to York New City. They were going to unravel the mystery left by Jing.
Thank you for watching the entire video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, like, share, and also hit the notification bell to receive updates when the channel releases new videos. Thank you.